This is a super beautiful example played in the game between Corzo and Capablanca. The game is instructive for a few reasons. The main reason is that, well, let's face it, Black is not doing really great. There is the pin, there is a problem because of that pin, and then there is more things coming. So like whatever we get to think or start trying to figure out here, you realize that in the end, Black will have a lot of problems in this position. So how do we stay away? Now, if you ever think about a position like that, remember that sometimes to resolve a complex situation, especially when it comes down to defense, you have to look at the position from a different angle. Most people will look at the position from just one angle, seeing the pin out there against our position, against our queen. We realize that White's probably going to get some moves like bishop d3 or g4, and it's just not cool. I mean, let's face it, if White is able to do this, he's going to have a serious pressure, problems, and threats that he will make. Not a whole lot of players would love this position for Black, and it's true. I mean, just it doesn't look good. It doesn't. So, okay, how do we get away? How do we step out of that danger and make something that's worth it? The only way is, as I mentioned, if you look at it from a different perspective. While most chess players, as I've mentioned, are going to look at it and think, okay, so how does that, what do I want to think about? I recommend that you always, every single time, think and focus on the active approach. The active approach might require you to figure out, like, where is your opponent weak? What are the different vulnerabilities he might be having in his own position? Now, that is just as important, in my opinion. But nevertheless, it is one of the key steps you have to take so that you could be most successful. In this position, that particular moment in time, this is exactly what we're looking for. A way to discover or find how to attack. Now, is it possible, really? I mean, I know what you're thinking. Is it really like that easy, that possible? That remains to be seen. Nevertheless, the key idea is that with the extra pressure against the e4 knight, and with White's ability to move in his bishop, challenges on the e4, and then deliver or drive in some other threats, we've got a problem. I mean, seriously, Black is going to have a situation here. So it's a matter of how does he handle it? How do we handle this position? Only weakness that White has that we could probably think about exploiting, the only one is the king. And if you think more carefully about this, the king down there is not perfectly well supported. Yes, there is what we say, there is actually this weakness, the king. Then there is this g2, but are we really able to exploit it in some way? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Think, what will be the best and most active way for Black to do this? The opportunity for Black to advance with g5. A move that kind of doesn't give White the chance to make anything strong. And what was incredible out there is that after we play with the move like this one, it's kind of beautiful. The g5, in case White plays knight takes g5, we get bishop takes d4 and knight takes g5, which is really the reason why that's working. If White takes, we have knight h3 checkmate. If he plays with f takes g5, we have the same sort of idea because it's followed by another brilliant checkmate. That's actually a very strong counterattack. If he plays with this, and maybe knight takes g5, we got a capture and we win the rook. And finally, if he plays with this, take on the g7, Black is able to get back and actually have a pretty good pressure against the g5. It's a golden opportunity. What if White tries bishop d3 to attack and ignore? well, I don't think you'll have an easy way to ignore the problems out there that will come in against the position. So it's like, it's actually very interesting out there because, yeah, it's bad. It's pretty bad out there. So there's no way on how white can make anything that great. It's just a very interesting direction. And in fact, after that move, you could see the main problem. Like, white has a really big issue. There's no tactic, no direction, no way on how white can make anything scary. And then, yeah, it just kind of loses at g takes f. So white could try bishop takes g7, which he did in the game. Knight d4, f5. You see, as I mentioned to you before, you have to see or think about your opponent's attack in a very simple manner. Does he get to create tangible and damaging threats against your position? Now, if he does, you've got things to worry about, sure. But if he hasn't, or you're not seeing any immediate threats, you don't have to bother. The real reason why that line does not seem to work, I think, so well for white is because there is hardly any real attack. There's hardly any real threat. So while I certainly think that the move of knight d4 and f5 is not that bad, you get to see there's not too much going on. After we play with queen e5, we have the queen standing perfect. We got the other rook coming right from the back on the e8, and it's just brilliant. Rook e8. White gives the check, and he took, but then black made the incredible rook takes d6 and bishop to c6, which leaves white in position where he is material up, yet it almost feels like he is actually material down, because every single important piece that he is supposed to have is bad and unable to make anything good. It's incredible, if you ask me. It's beautifully played. It's very thin. It's very awesome. And then let's take a look. I mean, after queen f4, white played queen e3 in hope that maybe, just maybe, he could run out and possibly try to stay out of danger. Looked like an interesting idea to do it. Queen to the e3. But then after queen e3, black plays king e7. The relative value of majority of white's pieces just shows us that there is hardly any actual advantage or possibility that white can follow. In case of the take on f4, we could very easily retake with our pawn. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's just a very good position, very solid pieces, and the fact is that white will definitely have a little more to worry. What you can understand is this one thing. Every time when you get in a difficult situation, or not knowing where to go or how to do things, think of this. Look at it from a different perspective, from a different angle. If you look at it from a different angle, you could see what really needs to happen or what needs to be done so that you can make your stuff in the way it needs to happen. It was good. I'd like to say that. It was very, very well played. G5 is a move a lot of people will not actually find out, but it was great. So let's take a look at another one. This is a position that was played between Capello and Kotov. Very instructive game to talk about. And what exactly do we do as black in this moment? I mean, like, black has a little bit of trouble. He actually has a little bit to worry because white's keeping up a good challenge and possibilities. So really the query is what to do now, how to make things work. And the interesting part here is that ultimately black has to find a way to go out. He needs to figure out exactly where to go, what to do, and how to make anything happen. So, what to do in the position. The most instructive type of move is going to be ultimately to play the move of queen f7. And actually what we realize in this moment is that as soon as queen f7 is played, it's going to make it very special, very different in this moment as opposed to any of the white sequences and things. It was a great move, very valuable, very powerful. Everybody will say, let's go a run with the king. But now remember, calculation is the only thing that can help you out in such positions. And you need to be thinking, okay, what do you need to consider doing in this type of position? What to do and how to think of that. And ultimately what we realize is that the moment we go ahead with the move of king to the g5, and in fact after continuing with the move of queen to the h5, king to the g5, we could see the important thing. After king g5, if h4, there is king takes h4, queen to h6, king to the g4 in this moment. And you see, this is a really interesting in this type of position. So like, one of the things is that if white plays around, then after king g4, white can play knight d3, and he is going to be the one to dominate the position and keep some extra pressure on the line. Things are not going to be too good. So that is dangerous. I don't want to say it's actually so bad, but could be a bit scary. So let's just get right back to the position and think about what else we could do. Going back. Well, see, queen f7 is not a move you can take on easily. If you do take on such a move easily, things can go quite bad. So what you have to do is to concentrate on, okay, what's going to happen as a result and how would this work out. After that, in case we play with the move of queen f7, then ultimately what we've got to do is to actually decide on the variation or the sequences or everything in this position. So how to do this move after queen f7, queen takes to the d6, king g7, and actually queen takes to the c5, black has c takes to the b2. And then the moment we actually have that opportunity to play with a move of like say c takes to the b, then what we can realize is that there is going to be the variation of c takes b with the possibility to advance against the opponents. And yes, that is really, really interesting in that type of position. What we've got to find out is black is ready to go. He's got the attack actually happening, and that's after queen c2, queen f4 check, c1 is going to hang, and then white actually is going to be in a big trouble at that point. It's winning. It's the only way to know in a tactical position what is the right way to defend or follow up or do things right or not is if you keep calculating, because the only thing is for you to keep calculating. If you do not calculate carefully, or if you mess something up, things can go bad. So the more you actually keep analyzing in such a position, the better your ability is going to get to see what's actually coming forward and like what are the different resources, and then find out, okay, I have to do this, I have to make that happen, I have to look for that other idea. Queen f7 was beautiful, but only the precise and real good calculation makes it to work. Nothing else. That's what we need to do. So calculation is an important and invaluable concept of any successful defense or attack as of that matter. So be careful and consider it every time when you want to be precise and more consistent in such a position. It's a great thing to do, and then we get with the c takes to the b, and then we have queen to f4. It looks interesting. So yeah, and that's basically my like take on defenses. All the little steps, like, you know, counterattack, you know, like making sure you calculate well, activity, neutralizing, all the little principles that you have to keep in mind or keep on top of your mind when playing. I hope that this makes sense to you and you understand the real relevance of utilizing these concepts anytime when you have to play such a challenging or more difficult defensive position.